Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And welcome. I'm delighted to see so many of you here. Really humbled. Thank you, Caroline, for that. Thank you, Helen.
You're welcome.
For the wonderful introduction. Out of all the introductions I've ever had, yours has been the most recent.
Thank you.
You built me up so much that it's only going to be downhill from now. I'm sorry to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the wine has all finished. Because you don't know, perhaps, that 1 in 10 of the medics are alcoholics. 1 in 10 are drug addicts. So it's not a very healthy profession. And I'm sorry, our video that was produced with music and photographs did not work because the IT guy, local IT chap, has not turned up tonight, so apologies for that. So Ramifications. Some of you may have guessed that I was probably born in India because I was very close to my mother. A strange country where you could be killed by a tiger or by lettuce. There are more chances of being killed by lettuce than by a tiger. And I can't talk about India without remembering my geography teacher, a Mr. Such. He was newly appointed and he came to the first class and said to us, "My name is Mr. Banerjee and I wish to be known as such." So Mr. Such taught us that you could put the whole of Western Europe into the map of India. Whole of Western Europe. I didn't believe him, so I got the atlas out and I wrote down the names of countries in Western Europe, area in square miles, and it came to 1.203 million square miles. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Such happened to be right, because the area of India is 1.237 million square miles. So you can put the whole of Western Europe and Portugal into the map of India. It's such a vast country. I didn't mention Iceland on purpose. There's 1,500 miles of mountains, the highest range in the world, some of the coldest places in the world, and thousands of miles of coastline. So that's where I came from, where I was born. And India's gifts to the world include 4 major religions: Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Jainism. And of course, including snakes and ladders. Voltaire said that it is important to know that 2,500 years ago, Pythagoras went to India to study geometry. At the age of 18, he left the island of Samos, which is west of Turkey, and came back to Europe at the age of 41 as a teacher. So India had universities long before the West was civilized. The history is mostly destroyed. Albert Einstein said that we owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery would have been made. And William Durant, an Indologist who studied India and wrote 27 volumes after research, came to the conclusion that India was the mother of our race and Sanskrit the mother of European languages, mother of English. Most of you have been taught that English came out of Germanic languages, came out of Old English, Celtic languages, came out of Latin, came out of Greek. Eventually, it came out of Sanskrit, the ancient script and language of India. The core words like mother, father, mata, pita, mater, pater, they are Sanskrit words. Yes, no, mouth, nose, teeth, mouse, sun, star, they are Sanskrit words. So India's gift to the world have been enormous. And William Durant says that even Christianity was influenced by the teachings of Buddha, because Buddha was born 500 years before Christ. And the basic tenets of Christianity, of forgiving thy enemy and loving thy neighbor, was alien thinking in those days. And there is a gap of lost years in the Bible where no one knows what happened to Christ after he was born, till he came back to the temple to preach where he went. And one theory is that he went east and was influenced by Buddhism. The basis of Indian religions is reincarnation. So it may not surprise you to know that I really do believe in reincarnation. In my will, I have left everything to myself. A little bit about my family history, which is so colorful that I doubt many in my audience can match it. Do you know, I had 3 grandfathers, and my grandmother ran away with the piano teacher. My father's father served in the First World War, in the Great War in Mesopotamia. And when he returned to India after the war, he was a changed man. And he abandoned his wife and young children. My father was the youngest, aged 7. And he went in search of the Almighty in the foothills of the Himalayas, where he was found murdered. We don't know why. So that was my father's father. My mother's father was a wealthy man. He was the office superintendent of the commissioner of Lahore, which was a very senior position for an Indian in the 1910, 15, 20s. And he, at the age of 40, married my mother's mother, who was Anglo-Welsh. So there is 1/16 Welsh blood in me, Williams. So hello, cousins. She was half his age, and she wasn't wanted by either the British community or the Indian community, because in those days mixed races weren't welcome. But my grandfather married her and had 3 children in quick succession. And when my mother was 3, he engaged a piano teacher for her, and she ran away with him. So my mother's father decided to remarry. So he took his children and his wedding party, entourage, his jewels and presents, and went to the arranged marriage in another town. And during the night, he died, thought to be poisoned, and all the jewels disappeared. So that was my real second grandfather. So my mother and her sister and brother were adopted by one of the trustees of my maternal grandfather's will. And he was a gentleman, that's the only grandfather I knew, who came to England to study medicine in 1900 at the London Hospital, and went back in 1910 and practiced in India. And he put my mother through medical school. And it was always thought that I would be a doctor, and I will go to England and get postgraduate qualifications, train as a surgeon, because the British qualifications were the best in the world. And once you had British postgraduate qualifications, you were made for life in India. So my parents had to rebuild a new life in 1947, when India was divided. And my father was a celebrity. He sang on the radio from 1936, that's national radio, and national television from 1954 till 2000. And he had over 300 records. And my mother was a doctor, and I had a very happy childhood. And then it was finally decided that after graduation, I go to England for postgraduation. And I arrived in England, well hidden under a lorry. And was dropped off on the east coast of England. And I had no idea in which direction to go, till I saw a sign, all London this way. I subsequently realized it was the A11. So I started walking along the A11, and I walked past a cemetery, and I heard a man cry. And I have always been inquisitive. So I went there in the cemetery, and I saw this man embracing a tombstone and crying his heart out. Why did you die? Why did you die? I said, excuse me, can I help you? And to my amazement, he looked at me up and down and suggested that I became fruitful and multiplied somewhere else. In those days, I didn't understand. So I persevered. I said, have you lost a wife or a child? He said, no. Why did you die? Why did you die? I said, have you lost a parent or a friend? He said, no, why did you die? Why did you die? I said, who on earth have you lost? And he replied, my wife's first husband. Eventually, I found my way to London, and I knew that the English I had learned was very different to the English spoken in these islands, and I had to relearn. Can you imagine someone like me, who learned English rather late in life, the difficulties that I would have encountered? Well, take for example the word oversight. It could mean observation, lack of it. Flammable and inflammable mean the same. Valuable and invaluable mean the same. Shameful or shameless mean the same. The word fast could refer to something going at speed or something that is stuck. This cruise fast. And if I went to somebody's house and knocked at the door and his wife said he's not up yet, or if you said he's not down yet, it meant the same thing. And when a farmer friend of yours says that his cow's in calf, he actually means that there is a calf in the cow. Take for example the word sanction. It could mean to permit something, or equally to take steps to forbid it. And when a door is bolted, it is secure. But when a horse has bolted, it's escaped. So isn't it a difficult language for a foreigner to learn? And then there is written English. I read in the newspapers the other day that the building was razed to the ground. And the man hit by train, critical. Critical, I ask you? If a train had hit me, I'd be downright abusive. Take, for example, the word complete and the word finished. They mean about the same. Building is complete, building is finished, task is complete, task is finished. Now, you can also look at it this way. If you marry the right woman, you're complete. And if you marry the wrong woman, you're finished. But if the right woman sees you with the wrong woman, you are completely finished. sometimes invited to lecture on cruise ships. And the Costa Concordia sank off the coast of Italy. And a couple of days later, I had to go and join a ship. So my daughter rang the night before and said, "Good luck, Dad. I hope you go down well." It's true, isn't it, bro? And a German might say, "But it's a disgusting habit." And how many mothers have shouted, "If you fall off there and break your legs, don't come running to me." It is a strange language. But the worst part of the language is the pronunciation in English. And there is only one rule. That there are no rules in pronunciation. I can best illustrate it that when I was a junior house surgeon, my consultant used to do a ward round every Monday morning. And the whole entourage used to be with him, the whole ward staff, all hierarchy. And it was the house officer who had to talk about the patients, what happened over the weekend. And the first bed was empty, so he said, "Dr. Seth, where's the patient?" I said, "I'm sorry to have to tell you this, sir, but the patient died in the night and the body is in the morgue." So he took me to one side. He said, "Dr. Seth, it is not morgue, it is morgue." I said, "Sir, I've noticed everything I say. You argue with me." He said, "Dr. Seth, it is not argue, it's argue." I said, "Sir, this is a strange language. The pronunciation is so vague. And it's often a slip of the tongue." And I found myself in London. I went to Trafalgar Square and to the ticket office underground. And I said to the chap, "Can I have a return ticket from Trafalgar Square to Greenwich, please?" And the chap started to snigger. It is not Trafalgar Square, it is Trafalgar Square. And it is not Greenwich, because in Greenwich and Norwich, the W is silent. Do you know I had problems when I went to Ipswich? I was driving through the independent Republic of Bradford and I lost my way. And I saw this young lady, curly blonde hair, blue eyes, nice figure, showing a fair bit of her midriff with a quaint tattoo. So I stopped my car and I said, "I'm terribly sorry to bother you. Which is the quickest way to the M66? And to my amazement, she said, What? I'm not understanding you." I was shocked by her accent. I said, "Forgive me, but you're not Pakistani, are you?" She said, "No, but my English teacher is." Now she must be some daddy's girl. Now that's another expression, daddy's girl, which signifies that firm and affectionate bond between a father and his daughter. Whereas mummy's boy is a derogatory. Similarly, mothering a child means bringing a child up with a lot of loving care and attention and looking after it. Whereas fathering a child simply means sex with the mother. And there is a world of difference. There is a world of difference between a maternity dress and a paternity suit. And do you know, the Americans, Australians, New Zealanders, South Africans, and the Indians have turned English on its head. I was in a bar in New York, and this guy came up to me and said, "I say, you're not from around these parts, are you?" I said, no, I'm from England. Gee, England. I must start again, I got it wrong. This couple from Nottingham, not me, this couple from Nottingham were in a bar in America. And this American comes up to them and says, "I say, you guys, you're not from around these parts, are you?" And the Englishman says, no, we are from England. And his wife says, "What did he say?" "I told him we are from England." "Gee, England, what a marvelous country. Which part of England are you from?" He said, "Oh, we are from Nottingham." And he said, his wife said, "What did he say?" "Oh, I told him we are from Nottingham." Nottingham. You will never believe it. During the war, I was posted in Nottingham, and I took a girl out from Nottingham, and she was frosty-faced and hopeless in bed. And his wife says, "What did he say?" "He says he's met you before." Somewhere, when this New Zealander came up to me and said, "Excuse me, mate, where's the chicken disc?" I said, "I've heard of tandoori chicken, jerk chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken, but not chicken disc. Maybe you ought to try there at Kentucky Fried and ask them, where's chicken disc?" He said, no. Chicken disc? Where you get a boarding pass. And in Cape Town, my wife and I were in a provision store, bought some provisions and came to the counter to pay. And the girl said, "Keys, Chico card." I said, "I beg your pardon." She said, "Keys, Chico card." And somebody translated from the back, "Cash, check or card." And the Indians too have turned English on its head. Many came here in the 50s and started a corner shop. Outside this corner shop, this great big guy walked in. You know the sort of mean. He had 3 days growth of beard, clean shaved head, braces, jeans torn at the knees, Doc Martens. He had a Union Jack in the front of his t-shirt, a flag of St. George in the front, and a bulldog at the back. He had tattoos on both forearms. On the left forearm it said left. Right forearm it said right. And he goes to the little shop assistant. He said, "Oi, I want half a lettuce." He said, "Sorry sir, we don't serve half a lettuce." "I want half a lettuce. And if you don't serve half a lettuce, there'll be trouble." He said, "Look sir, I'm only the shop assistant. The boss is in the back, I'll go and ask him." So this little guy goes to the back of the shop, and unknown to him, this great big guy follows him. And he goes to the boss and says, "Hey boss, in front of the shop, there's a great big ugly gorilla. And he demands half a lettuce and threatens violence if I don't serve. So what shall I do? What shall I do?" And the boss says, "Look behind you." And he looks behind and said, "And this very nice gentleman would like to buy the other one." Mummy Mouse took Baby Mouse out for a stroll to make it streetwise. So they took a corner and confronted a cat. Baby Mouse was frightened, but Mummy Mouse stood on all fours, ears up, tail up, and started barking like a dog. The cat was surprised, turned tail and ran away. So Mummy Mouse turned to Baby Mouse and said, "This is the advantage of learning a second language." You see, a person who speaks 2 languages is bilingual. A person who speaks 3 or more languages is multilingual. And a person who speaks 1 language is an Englishman. This Englishman stood on the stage and declared very proudly, "I was born an Englishman, I live like an Englishman, and I shall die an Englishman." And the little Irishman from the back said, "Man, have you no ambition?" But it's a beautiful language. It's a language of Shakespeare. It's a global language. It's a language of space. It's a language of technology. It's a language of culture. It's got a vocabulary adding 4,000 words every year. It's a living language. And if you want to get on this world, you have to learn English. When I first arrived in England, I knew I had to relearn my English and my pronunciations. But what were my first impressions of the country? Well, the countryside, parks and gardens are naturally beautiful. It's a naturally beautiful country, where the buildings are mostly dark and grey, whereas in the tropics, they're bright. Everybody walks very fast in London, especially on the underground, even in high heels. Women could outpace me, because in the tropics you walk sort of that speed. Quick. And then you soon found out that it's cold, wet and windy. That this country has nearly all the time Muslim weather. Occasionally Sunni, but mostly Shiite. And it's the first time I saw white people doing menial jobs, sweeping, because in the colonies they were suited, booted and had the top jobs. And that surprised me. Almost everyone is polite in this country. In my world travels, I haven't met a more polite people. There are no guns, at least there weren't any guns at all. Now you do see one. Dogs are well behaved and welcome everywhere. People are not afraid of neighbours or government. And bathroom light is just a string hanging from the ceiling. I've never seen that anywhere else. And they eat with their forks upside down, serve chips with everything. Curries are very popular. Everyone has a passport. I think everyone likes travel in this country. Not many people in the world would have such a high percentage of population passport holders. Everyone has a sense of humor. There's an undercurrent of humor in this society which keeps the British moving. Even during the war, when the bombs were falling and the husband shouts to his wife, "Come quickly in the shelter, love." And she says, "I can't find my dentures." And he said, "They're dropping bombs, not bagels." I arrived here over 50 years ago. And in those days there was racial difficulties in the country. Not among some, there's still some difficulties. But here, a white man and a black man were having a discussion. And the black man said, "When I was born, I was black. When I grew up, I was black. When I went in the sun, I was black. When I went in the snow, I was black. When I was sick, I was black. When I was scared, I was black. When I die, I'll be black." And you, white man, when you were born, you were pink. When you grew up, you became white. You went in the sun, you went red. You went into the snow, you went blue. When you were scared, you went yellow. When you were sick, you went green. And when you die, you go grey. And you call me colored? A good story about modern Britain, 2011 census. Diversity in our population. 41% of doctors are from overseas, and 21% consultants are overseas stock. 20% of solicitors, 10.9% of barristers. But 30% of the City of London is manned by mostly Indians. Civil service, armed forces, head teachers and police officers still lack ethnic minorities. This is a very famous Irishman, Herbert Horatio Kitchener, whom you would know as Lord Kitchener, who was Minister of War during the Great War, and made his name in the Sudan and in the Boer War. But you may not know that before that, from 1902 till 1909, he was Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army as Field Marshal, and had raised 250,000 soldiers, regular soldiers. And when the war broke out on the 4th of August 1914, the British armed forces were very thinly spread around the empire. But they had at their disposal 250,000 Indian soldiers ready to fight. And within 4 days, divisions of soldiers and cavalry were mobilized from Bombay and sailed for Marseille, and by train to Paris, and then on to Belgium, and fought in the Battle of Ypres. And within the first 4 weeks, an Indian Muslim won the first Victoria Cross. His name was Khudadad Khan. And I'm only going to mention one more soldier from the First World War, because it may surprise you that Indra Lal Ray was an ace fighter pilot in the First World War. Imagine at the time when Britain was world power number 1, believed to be the superior race really, and there would have been so much competition to be a fighter pilot in a British plane that Indra Lal Ray got the commission to fly a British plane and fight. He had come to England in 1909 for schooling, and when the war broke out, he volunteered for the Royal Flying Corps, because there was no Royal Air Force at the time. And he flew for 170 hours in action and shot down 10 enemy aircraft, which gives him the title of ace fighter pilot. He died in action aged 19 and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross posthumously. Indra Lal Ray. He must have been exceptionally good as a pilot to be allowed in a British aircraft, and the competition must have been very, very tough. And the battle honours in the First World War, 12 Victoria Crosses were won. Before the First War, Indians weren't eligible for Victoria Crosses, and 7,000 medals for gallantry. From the Second World War, I'm just going to mention 2 characters. First, again, is a Muslim lady called Noor Inayat Khan. She was actually born in Moscow because her father was posted there in the British Embassy. And they moved to London, and then her father was posted to Paris. So she went to university in Paris and was fluent in French. And when the war broke out, they escaped to Marseille and came back to London. And she volunteered for SOE, Special Operations Executive, Hitler's favorite secret weapon. And she was trained in wireless telegraphy and was amongst the first 3 women to be parachuted behind enemy lines as an enemy agent to send back information to GCHQ. She was betrayed by a Belgian spy, captured, tortured, raped in Dakar, and executed. The French gave her Croix de Guerre, Gold Star, and the British awarded the George Cross. And she appeared in 2012 on the first class star. Noor Inayat Khan. You would imagine a Muslim lady as a spy. And the second one I'm going to mention is Squadron Leader Mohinder Singh Pooji, a Sikh, who learned to fly in Simla, in Delhi, and then when the war broke out, came to England and volunteered for the RAF. He must have been tremendous to have a competition with the local boys to become a Spitfire pilot. Because every red-blooded youth in the country wanted to be a Spitfire pilot for his country. And Mohinder Singh Pooji was chosen as one of the pilots, and he survived the war and served various missions and awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross in 1945. In 1975 he came back and was hurled a lot of abuse on the streets of London, in the borough of Newham. It was called, "Oi, packy this and oh, packy that." And he said, hang on, by the National Front at that time. They were flying the flags of Spitfire and flags of Cross of St. George, etc. He said, I used to fly on those. And the borough of Newham heard about it and gave him the freedom of the borough of Newham and erected a statue near the banks of the Thames. And then RAF Cosford heard about him and opened a special exhibition for the ethnic minorities who served in the war. We forget, it wasn't just a war fought by Britain. It was fought by the world. There were many Afro-Caribbeans, there were many Asians from Southeast Asia, and of course Australia, New Zealand. But the Indian casualties were almost double that of the rest of them. But they are forgotten heroes. I heard today on the news that they're commemorating something. And when at RAF Cosford, where this exhibition was opened, Squadron Leader Mohinder Singh Pooji was the guest of honor. In Second World War, 2.5 million Indians fought and won 30 Victoria Crosses and 13,000 medals for gallantry. And finally, I'll mention Princess Sophie Dilip Singh, who followed Emily Pankhurst as the president of the suffragettes. Emily Pankhurst started the procedure of votes for women, but complete rights were only obtained under Princess Sophie Dilip Singh, who was the granddaughter of Maharaja Ranjit Singh and came to England with the Kohinoor diamond, and Queen Victoria adopted her as a goddaughter, but she, she lived in Hampton Court, grace and favor, but instead of living as royalty, she protested with the suffragettes, and the police wouldn't touch her because she was Queen's goddaughter. That's Princess Sophie Dilip Singh. Great Britain has got true democracy. The media is free. Law dispenses blind justice. The traffic and police are wonderful and polite. The other day I went to India and asked the taxi driver to take me to my father's house, and the taxi driver was mad. Accelerate, brake, change lane, accelerate, brake, change lane, left, right. I said, driver, slow down, slow down, slow down. I'm in no hurry. And by the way, what are those white lines in the road for? He said, I don't know, sir. Something what the British left behind. Constitutional monarchy. We have one of the best education systems in the world, a welfare state. Small country with so many world champion sportsmen, individuals and teams is amazing. And contributed to knowledge of humankind in literature, science, technology, architecture, you name it. This small country has contributed an awful lot. They love animals. Animals get a lot of love I'm amazed at how many people do voluntary service through Rotary, Lions, Masons. I'm grateful to so many of my friends from Rotary International who are here, from Queen Anne's Bowling Club who are here, from my connections with Nottingham Hospital's choir who are here, and I would urge you to consider joining the choir. You will find leaflets where you're sitting. They are a wonderful choir. Practice here in the staff dining room on Thursday evenings, and your parking will be free. And I've got so many family and friends, and I'm most grateful that you came. I would especially like to mention two whom I've known for 60 years, from before I joined medical college. And Rakesh has driven from Luton, and Shiv has driven from Horsham in Surrey, just to listen to me. But you're listening to a speaker whose past is sell by date. But thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you and your young ladies with you. I'm so grateful to so many of you. And this country is second to none in supporting charities. Do you know there are 180,000 charities registered in our country? 58% of women and 52% of men support charities regularly. And £9.3 billion are donated to charities by people quietly, without publicizing what they're doing in brown envelopes or anonymously by just giving on the internet. There's much caring in the society for people with special needs, orphans, widows, homeless, victims of crime. I think it's wonderful the way we bring up children. In spite of what we read about some of the children who are badly treated, and it's a shame they are, but the vast majority of children are brought up with love and discipline in this country, with routine. They're taught good manners. They're taught to share. They're always taught fairness, fair play, that you are as important as anybody else, and respect for others' feelings who are a bit different. Truthfulness. Children are inculcated with the idea of truthfulness. You mustn't tell a fib. It's wrong to tell a fib, and we tell our children and teach them right from birth, and we encourage them to read. And there are some unwritten rules that I had to learn when I came to this country, that if somebody asks you, how do you do, it's a greeting, it's not a question. And if somebody says, how are you? There's no point in giving them your medical history. And do not contradict a weather remark. If somebody says, lovely day, you don't say it's awful. Somebody says it's chilly, it's a day, you say, no, what's the matter with you? So you never contradict a weather remark. You have to learn when you come here, because it's only opening a conversation. It's a polite way of saying hello. What a lovely day. And there are unwritten rules that in the front garden and at the bar you can talk to anybody if they are in the front garden or at the bar. But not if they are in the back garden, which is private, and not if they are sitting down in a pub. Don't talk to them. But you can talk to any dog in this country. And you can talk to any baby in a pram. You're perfectly allowed to do that. And politeness, without politeness you cannot exist in Britain for 5 minutes. You have to say please, and you have to say thank you. It is really a very polite society. And we do have ladies first. We do let them sit down first. We do let them be served first. And we do let them enter a room first. We are encouraged to do that right from the beginning. It doesn't happen everywhere in the world automatically. And we hold door for strangers. I've often gone in other countries, the door is open, and by the time I get to it, they slam the door. But an Englishman or a Britishman would always hold the door open for you. Always buy your own rum. Never be forgotten. And your word should be your bond. If you promise something, you deliver it. Reply to letters and return phone calls. And never forget birthdays and anniversaries, because your wife will never let you go. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, I'm feeling a bit low today. Lower than that. You see, I got up this morning and I realized I've been happily married, for 47 years. My wife doesn't think so. So I said to her, if I were to lose all my money, would you still love me? She said, I love you. Of course I love you. I'll miss you. I said, what would you do if I die? She said, I hope I get acquitted. But I've been very fortunate to have a wonderful marriage and a wonderful wife, as long as I keep saying yes to you. I'm here today, and I'm very fortunate that I have my GP in the audience, and I have my consultant oncologist in the audience, just in case something untoward happens to me. Not many speakers are that fortunate. So what does being British mean to me? Being British mean to me driving a German car, wearing a Armani suit, working for a multinational company, drinking Belgian beer, going to an Irish pub, picking up Chinese, Turkish or Indian takeaway, going home and sitting on Swedish furniture, watching American programs on Japanese TV. But the quintessential thing about being British is maintaining a slight suspicion of anything. Ability to laugh at oneself. Not many races can laugh at themselves, but the British do that. That special talent of laughing at themselves. It strengthens their character. It is part of their strength not to take themselves too seriously at times. On the other hand, no one fights more dirty than an Englishman kicked to the ground. But they have an affinity to kill. More than any other race in the world. I can best illustrate it that when my wife and I were in Spitsbergen, on the island of Svalbard, near the North Pole, and where you can only go ashore by ship's tenders. And we were there by ship's tenders when the captain of the ship from the bridge spotted a polar bear. Now a polar bear is very hungry in the winter, there's no food. And a polar bear can run at 30 miles an hour and swim 30 miles out to sea. So he spotted a polar bear through binoculars and gave instructions for all the passengers to board the tender and return to the ship as soon as possible. There was a polar bear, you can see it. And what did the Brits do? Form an orderly queue. No one going. And the polar bear was about 50 yards away. But we all made it safely because of the orderly queue. In a recent survey, an average Briton walks about 900 miles a year. An average Briton drinks about 22 gallons of alcohol a year. Which means that on average Britons get makes you proud to be British, doesn't it? 1974, when I was established in general practice, which gave me status and stability, and I negotiated 2 operating sessions in the local hospital to keep up my interest in operative surgery. I was welcomed because the waiting lists were very long, and the surgeons were pleased for me to tackle the waiting list. I asked myself in 1974, what did I want out of this life? And the answer came, I wanted to see the world before I died. Then the second question was, how could I afford it on a GP's income? And the answer came back, with disciplined saving. So in 1974, I bought an insurance policy which matured in 10 years with profits with Scottish widows, and I could afford £15 a month. After 10 years it matured and gave me £3,500, and I could take my family on a Mediterranean cruise for a week and a cruise stay. But in 75 I bought another policy, 76 to 77. As the income increased, there was disciplined saving. And I'd finished my world travels before I retired and before the cruise lines invited me, which opened up my horizons a lot more. So I'm very proud to say that I have seen our beautiful planet, mostly painted in blue, and the parts that are not painted, I haven't had the chance. I've been part of a noble profession, and it's been a very satisfying life. And it is a noble profession. It is a noble profession because your patient comes first, before your family or yourself. If you're having a Christmas meal and you're on duty and the patient wants you, you leave everything and you go. It is a noble profession. And it's up to the current generation of doctors to maintain the nobility of the profession. To be able to be placed in a situation where you have a chance of helping a fellow human in pain or discomfort is a privilege. And I have that professional privilege in my working life. In my 50 years, medicine has changed beyond recognition. So many new drugs, procedures, inventions, innovations have come up. But breastfeeding is the same. And human nutrition in bottles, you start and graduate and end up with a drip. But something is missing in the middle, and that is the red bottle of wine. When I first graduated, I was taught in medical school, beware the 5 A's. You'll be erased from the register by the General Medical Council if you advertise any of your services or how good a doctor you are. Now it is compulsory to make glossy brochures and leave them in your surgery and say, I provide this service and that service, I'm good at this and I'm good at that, and I do this and I do that. All consultants have internet telling us what they've done and what they've achieved. So it's almost compulsory to advertise. And that's changed since my day, because they would all be struck off 50 years ago. The second one was you will not commit abortion. And now it is legal to commit abortion. And third was you will not associate with quacks. You will be struck off. Now it is respectable. They're all called complementary medicine, alternative medicine. So you can associate with a herbalist, faith healer, anybody. Even Prince Charles consults them. He says it's very respectable. Thou shalt not be an addict. You'll be struck off. And yet, I mentioned earlier, 1 in 10 doctors are either alcoholic or drug addicts, and I don't see 10% of doctors being struck off. And lastly, thou shalt not commit adultery, you'll be struck off. And yet, over the years, I saw so many of my colleagues getting away with it. But all the colleagues I've worked with, ladies and gentlemen, in medicine, have been punctual. They've been dedicated, caring, polite, fair. Don't let patients judge you, no matter what their station or rank is in society. There's an undercurrent of humor, even in difficult circumstances in hospitals, that keeps you going. So I have given advice to my colleagues over the years that when you see a patient, introduce yourself, ask them how they would be addressed. Not John or Joan or Mary. Ask them if they'd like to be called Mrs. Smith or whatever. And then give them eye contact. And maintain your bedside manner. And if you are running late, you must apologize. Because a waiting patient deserves an apology. And it diffuses the anger and frustration. How you provide care, and not just the outcome, is very important. In bedside manner, uphold dignity and respect the privacy of the patient. In my day, there was a doctor's superiority and a lot of power and dependency. Now things are much, much easier and all equal to it. I advise all the junior doctors now not to stand while they're talking to a patient, but to sit down. Because a patient perceives that if a doctor has sat down while speaking to them, he's got time. If the same time is spent by the doctor standing up by the bed, the patient may perceive the time went much quicker, and the doctor didn't have time for them. It's human nature. Reassure and comfort the patient, but remain honest. All doctors make a mistake. The world is full of patients who have proved doctors wrong. And if you do make a mistake, apologize straight away and explain why you have made a mistake, because you're human. Never be shy. 50 years ago, things used to be closed up, and patient was denied access to the truth. And a patient had to resort to going to court for a judge to explain what happened. And it used to be expensive and take years. If doctors are treating doctors, they must treat the doctor just like another patient. He's still a human. And it's not my scan, it's me. Give me the eye contact. This is what I learned as an NHS patient. I've had a very checkered medical history, and I'm one of the luckiest men alive. Because in 2004, I had my right kidney and ureter taken out for cancer. 2005, it spread to my liver and inferior vena cava, and I had extensive surgery in Leeds General Hospital. In 2006, part of my liver was taken out with the vena cava exposed. 2008, my right lung cancer was taken out. 2009, from my left lung, it was taken out. But after that, I traveled the world. I was cancer-free for 6 years. Wonderful. Aren't I a lucky man? Until the end of 2015, it appeared in both my lungs, left side ribs, and my vertebrae. And as you might notice, I'm a little short of breath. And I've had deep x-rays and chemotherapy. The best treatment possible. I don't think there is definite advantage if you're a doctor as a patient, because you get results quickly. And I wish all patients got results quickly, so they didn't have the anxiety of waiting, even when the results were long. If you're in a wheelchair, you're invisible. I worked in City Hospital urology for about 20 years, and I knew everybody who worked there in the corridors. But when I was in a wheelchair being pushed by a porter, nobody recognized me. People I used to see every day, nurses, doctors, nobody. Till a porter came up to me and said, "I am Dr. Seth. What are you doing in a wheelchair?" Well, I said, "Well, I have cancer in my kidney, it's spread to my lungs, etc., etc." He said, "Other than that, are you all right?" I said, "Yes, thank you, Doctor." Receiving bad news, as you can see, I've received bad news a few times. And I advise doctors how to break bad news. It is very important to consider the patient, because a patient may not recall the exact words that were said, but the patient will always remember how it was said. So if a patient breaks down when you give bad news, don't leave, don't say, I know how you feel, because you can't possibly know how the patient feels. Don't leave the room. Patient will feel abandoned. Stay in the room. Patient knows you are a very busy man and got lots of patients waiting. They'll quickly compose themselves, apologize, offer them a glass of water, box of tissues, and put a hand on the shoulder. It's the kindness that every patient needs when you break bad news. It can be a pivotal time for a patient's life. They have to update the will, resolve unfinished business, plan holiday, inform friends, insurances, home modifications, apologies, tell children. But one thing I'll say to anybody, no matter how hopeless the diagnosis, no matter what the odds are against you, you never give up hope. You must always fight. Because remember, the world is full of patients who have proved doctors wrong. So you must have the will to survive. And of course, you must plan a good funeral. A good party, choose the music, plant a rose bush, a good drink to say goodbye, and choose the music. Like imagine Sound of Silence. Oh, wonderful world. I know a friend of mine here has chosen Another One Bites the Dust. Don't you know? Great Britain, finally. One of the safest and the most free countries in the world. Highest number of globally ranked universities. Lowest murder rates in the world. Some of the safest roads in the world. That's the best of it. And this was said by Professor Michael Porter of Harvard Business School. And I think there's no other place on earth where I would like to bring up my children or grandchildren. It's a little paradise, in fact. These islands. Well, near. I've written a booklet which is for sale outside for £2, a pound of which will go to cancer research. Support of my family and friends has been enormous, and I'm grateful to you all. And grandchildren are a real joy, give you the will to live. I love you all dearly. Thank you very much.